I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Training, and thank you for attending our tutorial today. We're going to be looking at demographic resources and how they can assist you with preparing your church to build. First document that I want to review with you to make certain you understand how to use it is a document we put together to give you different resources, both ones you have to pay for and those that are available to you for no cost. But let me go through some terms first. You'll see here on the screen that I've given you some terminology to assist you with understanding what we mean by three key words. The first one is demographics. This gives you the information about the people, their age and income and education, their type of occupation, region of the country, the household size, whether they own or rent their home, the age of their kids, the value of their homes. That's normal stuff that is available any number of places, as you'll see here on the resource sheet. You don't have to pay to get that usually. It's available to you. Of course, the United States government has the census every 10 years, but also it's updated as they go through a 10-year cycle, and you can pull that information from any number of sources. Secondly is a term that you might not be as familiar with, is psychographics. So this takes demographics to a step further, and it's talking about people's attitudes, opinions, lifestyles, and behavior, their life's perspective, their life's view. It may include what their interests are, where they like to vacation, what their value systems are, what they hold to be dear, how they behave, and you can pick it up in any number of places. I put here two different sources for you. The IAO, which is Interest, Activities, and Opinions, or the Compass, which is Community Preference Assessment. Both of those resources you can Google and find and read through to give you information, or you can use one of the two paid sites that are below. Eclographics, probably you're not familiar with that. Ecclesia, as a ministry leader, as a teacher, you're probably familiar with that Greek word, the called out. But eclographics gives us their church affiliations and their religious profile of all the churches in your area. One of the documents I'm providing for you is a sample from Percept Group, and in it, when you buy their $85 six-page report that I'm going to show you in a moment, they will show you where all the churches are in your area within the radius that you requested in your report. But what it doesn't go into is to tell you, out of the demographics and the psychographics, what kind of people are attending what kind of church in your area. That's where you've got to do some more investigative work to increase your community IQ, to understand where God has put you, who is there, and who you're best suited to reach out to. Now, I've given you some sources for demographic studies. Mission Insight and Percept Group and the Mapping Center are some that you have to pay for. The other two that are here in front of you, I'm not sure exactly everything about them, even though I've looked at their sites, but you are going to have to pay to get information from them. They can't provide it for free. Psychographics, you're going to get them from Percept Group, Mission Insight, and then there's a secular source of Nelson that you can go to. And Percept Group, First View, the one I've just mentioned, that's the only place I know of for you to get much eclographics, and then it's just a list of where the churches are in your area. And then there are a ton of other resources for you. The government provides it. I would encourage you to go to city-data.com. You can pull information out. I use it for my ministry audits when I'm coaching churches, and you can get 100 pages of information about the city and the county that the city is in, and just really almost over information it's coming at you too fast. So you have to be able to go in there and weed out and pick and choose what you need. That's done for you by the Percept Group and Mission Insight, and probably by the Mapping Center. There are other sources here for you to gather in here. Chamber of Commerce, connecting with them online. Your government and planning commissions, available usually online. Better Business Bureau, online. Your Board of Education probably has a demographer that you can go and talk with them, call them, or reach out through email to gain information from them. Because these groups I'm showing you, they have done research probably much more extensive than any of your churches have done or your denominations. And so why not tap into them, particularly if you can do a little research and connect with them and build a bridge to them through doing it. Colleges, universities, utilities, realtors, business developers, radio stations, newspapers, libraries, lending institutions, on and on it goes. That you have all these different sources that you can tap into to assist you with reaching out to them. Your commercial enterprises. Don't you imagine Walmart has a strong idea of the demographics and the psychographics of a community before they go spend millions of dollars putting in a store and then marketing that and giving it time to work and to pay for itself? They do all this homework and you can tap into it. So let me encourage you to go through and look at these. Now, Pastor, you don't have to do this all by yourself. Ministry is a team sport. So please consider tapping into the gifted people that God has put in your place. And if they've shown allegiance and alignment, and they are congruent with your purpose and your mission, then put those gifted people to work to let them go pull out the information. Where this is leading to is to develop your community intelligence. This is where you want to improve your connectivity quotient. So you want to study both online with documentation and research of others, and be your own private investigator to dig into your community to understand it. But if you want to develop your community intelligence, your connectivity quotient, you want that to bridge the connectivity between your ministry and your church family and the people God's called you to reach, then you're going to have to work at it. And so I've given you here a list of questions to help you, give you direction for increasing and improving both the quantity and the quality of your community intelligence so that you can build bridges to reach out where you're going to them with the gospel, and hopefully some of them may come to you for the gospel. So as you have questions about these questions, at the bottom of your monitor, your computer monitor, you will find a comment section where you can ask me questions. Please take a moment to jot down and say, Marshall, I don't understand number 3 on your community intelligence document. How do we do this, or what did you mean by this, to help you? And so I've given you some good sources here, such as number 3, Thom Rainer's book on the Unchurched Next Door will give you a structured way for you to plug in your own findings about how to grade a person that is unchurched, not dechurched or needing to be rechurched, but a lost person who doesn't know Christ, would be a first-generation believer perhaps for their family, and you want to look at their posture toward Christ. Thom Rainer's research, The Unchurched Next Door, will give you that. Now, I've looked at this from a needs approach, finding a particular need in the community that you can meet to use as a connectivity quotient, a connectivity bridge, source for you to reach out to them. And so more than just going and talking to them on the street corner, but looking to add value to their life and win their trust and develop a relationship there may be an area that you can really serve them as a church where you are gifted and have the resources to meet a need or to establish a relationship with them. I'm asking you those kind of questions in this document. And what I've stated here is that studying your community through available research is one part of the equation, but learning to listen and observe firsthand to the challenges your community is facing is indispensable. So don't rely just on the Mission Insight and the Percept Group and the Mapping Center and any of the secular resources that are available to get it. What you're doing if you do that is you are learning, distance learning. You're a distance from the very people God's called you to reach, and you're doing it through a third party instead of getting hands-on into the lives and the needs and weaknesses and, yes, the depravity and the broken lives of your community, whether they're white-collar, blue-collar, or no-collar, that you're forcing yourself to go get in the midst of them. This document is meant to give you some direction by asking you some pointed questions and hopefully stirring your own thinking so that you and your ministry team can make a concerted effort to increase the quality and the quantity of your community intelligence and to build your connectivity quotient. Now, there are two other documents that I want to show to you, and one here is that of the Percept Group. Let me go back up to the top here to start. And this is a document that will help you. It costs about $85 as of today of this recording. That can go up or down, and they can run specials, but you know it's going to be $100 or less probably in the near future for this. This is a 6-page snapshot of any mile radius you wish to purchase. 2 mile, 4 mile, 6 mile, 8 mile, 10 mile, 12 mile, 15 mile radius. And it's going to give you, it's going to give you these areas. It's going to give you about the people and the places, the diversity, how it's mixed together, their faith preferences. They're going to tell you what kind of people, where they are in their faith, in their belief. And then it's going to deal with community issues. This is a great, inexpensive, quick tool to help you increase your community intelligence and to help you build your connectivity quotient. Now, in this particular study, they're looking at one study, which doesn't really matter. But here is the study of the zip code they did. They did it by the zip code, and look how it's broken up. Now, you go through and look at this, and what you can see when you look at the people and places is the population density. How close are the people packed together? In this case, it's very high. So they're in apartments, they're in duplexes, they're bunched together in an inner city type setup. It's not sprawled out. The change. Here it's telling you the growth is very moderate. The second source of this we're going to look at, there's a pretty moderate decline in the population change. It's going down. Then population distribution. It's highly dispersed instead of concentrated. And so as you look at how the people are put together there, diversity, somewhat high. So you know you've got all different kinds of nationalities, how the people are, who the people are, skin color, backgrounds, nationality, so forth. Then they deal with the dynamic level. And so they're looking for the dynamics of what's working together in the area to help you see what the potential of the area is. And they're saying it's somewhat high, very high. Faces of diversity. Here you've got a lot of ethnic and urban areas. All right, so that's where this area is strong. Non-Anglo population, which the United States is increasing strongly in that. The strongest area where it's growing, in this case it's Hispanic and Latino. The strongest generation are the survivors, the 23 to 43-year-olds, not the millennials, but the survivors. And then family structure. It's very non-traditional. You want to know what you're facing. If you're dealing with an area that has very strong family units, that's one thing. But when it's broken down into single family and so forth and so on, you need to understand what the family structure is. This is giving you a snapshot. Then education. Are they highly educated? Are they white collar, highly educated, blue collar, maybe not even high school educated? And so it's giving you the information here. Then they step into community issues. There's problems, and they're telling you there's problems. Primary concerns of the people in the community are community problems. The stress conditions, where the pressure on people in their lives, monetarily, family, and community issues is very high. And in this case, their perception of change is that the resistance is just average. It's not high. So they're looking for something different. It's average. If it were high here, you would come in with the solution to the concerns they have in their community, and they may resist your involvement with it if it involves change. Their faith preferences. You should find this very helpful for them. They are receptive to it. It shows they're very low, extremely low to the gospel. Extremely low financial support, ability to support a ministry. Their church style is contemporary, somewhat. Their program preference is for their community, back to their issues and their concerns with the community. So they're not looking at spiritual development or personal development or recreation. They're looking at fixing the community. And they have their religious preferences is extremely low. So they don't have a preference. Then page 4, and there are 6 pages to this, they're going to answer some real important questions. How many people are in the study area shows you the growth. And the population in this area projected to grow, and the answer is 04 to 09, it should have grown 7%. What is the overall level of diversity in the area? And it's seen as high, somewhat high. And then the dynamics in the study area is very high. All right, so they're giving you good, solid information in a snapshot. You can spend $150 and get a 40-page report from Percept Group. At least that's what it was the last time I looked. And get a 47 page, including this often. They'll throw this in, and you're able to get, it's drilling down and giving you more information. And you have to study this to understand your area. But these guys are doing the work for you. How much lifestyle diversity is represented? Look at the number there. And the study area is 60%. The national average is 18%. And so when you go through and you start looking at how they contribute to diversity in the area, you can begin to see what you're facing. And if you're called to reach Asians for Christ or Hispanics for Christ, African American for Christ, or others, you're beginning to get an idea of how many of those fish are in your pond, what their challenges are, whether they're living close-knit, are they well-to-do, or are they poverty level or in between? What community challenges are they facing? What are their fears? What are their key concerns? And so these things are coming out by studying the documentation. When you look at the generational groups, this is very helpful. You can begin to get an idea of how the population is made up. And if you're called to reach the builders 80 years of age and up, which very few of us would be, you've got a very small percentage of people, and you're going to have to go to them. They're not likely going to come to you. But if you're charging after the survivors, 23 to 43, You've got a higher percentage of them in this area as compared to the U.S. average, and you can go after them. But then you've got to know where they are, because we're told that while we're going or to go get them and pursue them. So you've got to find out where they are and how you're going to reach them. Then diversity details here. It gives you more comparison to the U.S. average. It's asking here, how traditional are the family structures? And what you see here is high percentage of single, never been married, and then a high percentage of divorced or widowed, and then a low percentage of married families that are traditional family. So as you study these, what you're doing is you're piecing together the kind of people that your church has in people in the pond, fish in the pond. Then you've got to look at your ethnographics of your congregation and begin to build connectivity connectors or connectivity quotient through your community intelligence. You understand your congregation, and you understand and know your community, and you're looking for ways that God is at work that you could join him, and how you're gifted in your strengths, personalities, in your experience, in your passions, how your spiritual gifts are put together, your natural abilities, both nurtured and natural abilities, and how you believe God has called you to reach them. You're piecing that together by learning about yourself and them. That's why I tell you to use placeministries.org for having your people take surveys to determine their shape, how they're put together. And you piece together your congregation and your leadership team with your community. And what you're doing is you're building a way, a part of your strategic plan for you to fulfill the Great Commission as you are called, your mission, and headed toward the destination, your vision that God has for your ministry. You're piecing all of this together, and you're using this information to help you do that. Then the last questions that they're asking you are community issues that you want to look at. Which household concerns are unusually high in the area? And they're telling you, breaking it down into 5 areas and showing you, compared to the national average, how does your community pan out? How does it read out? And as you're looking here, you can begin to look at how you're doing and help you prepare to reach them. And so it drills down into the different areas here. It is drilling down through these pages to give you richer and richer, more detailed, focused attention on the key questions. And so as you go through and look at this, for instance, look here at F2. What is the likely giving potential in the area? Extremely low. Extremely low. Look at the U.S. average, 63,207, compared to this area, 37,878. So as you study this, you've got to pay for the ministry that you're doing, and if you go reach the people God's called you to, you better have a part of your plan how you're going to sustain it financially. Do you feel like you ought to have as a part of your game plan how you're going to deal with this? Because in this particular area, you may find it difficult for them to support your ministry as you go to care for them and as you win them to Christ and you start churches there or ministries there or separate campuses. All right, as we look at this is just one group, the Percept group, that is giving us this information. But as you can see, in 6 pages for $85, they're giving you a good bit of information. And then there is Mission Insight. Mission Insight is a competitor. It's my understanding that the 2 key guys at Percept Group and Mission Insight, they used to be together under the Percept Group and had a difference in how they were put together, and so they started 2 separate companies. That's what I was told, so you can understand how they are related together. This is looking at one group in Pittsburgh, And in this one, what you're going to see in this 2.5 mile radius is that in this radius, the household population, everything is headed down, in decline. And as you look at these numbers, you can see the decline just in the last 22 years. And so as you look at these numbers, this is giving you a different way of looking at it. They formatted the information differently for you to look at the households and how they're doing per household, looking at the age groups, the phases of life here in the middle, and looking at what the growth is going to be in the comparison. In the comparison charts that they use here, just so you can understand, the green is usually above average, the red is below average, and the yellow blocks would be average. And so as they go through here, they give you this information in writing. I'm just pointing it out, that you're looking at the different groups of people in this one area in Pittsburgh and how they are compared to the national average and how their changes come about in decline in each one of these groups. So certain groups are increasing in population, and then their household income and all is headed down, and it's not a good thing. They give you the racial breakdown so you can see what you're facing there and who is there. Because you need to know if you're fishing in this pond, this is where God's called you to plant a church, or you've taken an existing church and you're reaching out into the area. You want to know what you're facing and what the trends are. Give you the mosaic types, breaking it down for you. And you're going to have to spend some time looking at this to master this. You may have to reach out to them to ask for some explanation with it. But to give you the tools necessary to increase your community intelligence, to help you build your community quotient, your connectivity quotient, so that you can reach out to them in a way that is going to improve your opportunity and your chances to partner with God to reach the people God's called you to reach. Well, I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Training. I hope that this has been an encouraging time and an instructive time for you as we give you this tutorial on using these 4 documents.